Hi guys, it's Rick Shiels down here at Quest Golf Academy here at Prairie Sports Village. I'm been testing and reviewing the new Titleist 818 hybrids. We've got the H1, which is the big version, and the H2, which is the slightly slender version of the two golf clubs. Hybrids with Titleist very much come out the same time as they released the irons. They see the hybrids sitting in as an extension of the iron family, and not so much with the woods. That's why you don't see hybrids being launched with the driver and the 3-wood. You see them more being launched after the launch of the irons. And obviously we've just seen the latest iron range coming out, the 718s, and now we're seeing the 818 hybrids. Now this is the second generation of the H1 and the H2. The 816 was the last version a couple of years ago, and for me, there were two hybrids that sat very close together. It was hard to distinguish between the two. They've made that gap much bigger now between the H1 and the H2. The H1, and this is the simplest way of remembering it, is the bigger footprint head. And the H1 is probably more in line to go with a player that goes with the AP1 set. So one is big in Titleist. The H2 is very much a slender version and looks more like not a driving iron, that'd be wrong to say it, but definitely a smaller, squashed up version of a hybrid. And this is more for the golfer that maybe suits the AP2. Kind of gives you that idea of the difference between the two. I'm going to test them both on GC Quad hitting Real Pro V1s and kind of see if there's actually much difference in ball flight or feel or sound or whatever we're going to distinguish between the two. They have kept with this active recoil channel, so a slot that's actually cut out behind the head and then filled with a polymer material. They've darkened the head. If you remember the 816s, they had a lighter grey head. The darker head now sits more in line with the driver and the 3-wood that they've had in the past, the same colour scheme. It's like a sparkly grey, it's probably the best way of describing it. It's got the hosel adjustability as always, and I actually got fitted for both these hybrids, and I've gone 3/4 of a degree flatter to help me slightly fade the ball a bit more with the hybrid. So it's been my issue with hybrid, I end up turning it too far left. Not only have you got the adjustability on the neck to change the loft and the lie angle, you've also now got their Sure Fit CG weight system that they've had in the drive and the 3-wood in this. So I've got just a neutral weight in this, but you can get a draw biased, a fade biased, and in many different weights as well. So that's again just kind of finer tuning into the real bones of custom fitting, which I'm always a big fan of. I love adjustable hybrids because for me a hybrid very much sits in that adjustable category. It's a club that is either an iron replacement, it's the club that's fitting in between your longest iron and your fairway wood or your driver. So as much adjustability as can be offered from a custom fitting, I'm a big fan of that. I'm just hitting this in the Rogue Max 85 hybrid extra stiff shaft. I prefer that dark head. I like the grey head, the light grey head last time, but I must admit, if I had the choice, I think the darker grey head definitely suits more of a Titleist look about it. Let's give the H1 a hit. You can see there, that's come out really nicely. A little fadey one. Again, I like that flight for a hybrid. I put that green there at like 240, and that's actually gone a decent way. I've got this in a 19-degree hybrid, by the way. There's loads of other options as well, but I've gone 19-degree. And moving it into B1 doesn't change the loft, it just changes the lie angle a little bit flatter. Good ball flight. 233 carry, felt fantastic. You can see all the strike location there. And club delivery numbers. Yeah, no complaints about that first shot at all. Went high, but it had a nice kind of what I would traditionally see a hybrid flight look like. Probably going to finish down target a little bit better actually. I like that. And again, I've got this in neutral weight. If I was still finding that wasn't quite moving right enough for me, if I wanted to, I could potentially put a fade weight in there as well. Both shots felt really good. The active recoil channel is supposed to be offering good speed across the face. And I must admit, both those two shots were hit exactly the same location, just slightly in the toe and a yard away from each other from carry distance. The sides of the head is kind of a rounded shape. I see this type of shape to suit a golfer who likes a fairway wood. So a golfer who likes hitting fairway woods, maybe with 5-wood or a 7-wood, would prefer that slightly longer back, that slightly bigger head shape. 3 really nice hits. I can't ask for a lot more from a hybrid. They're really nice golf shots. Feel good as well. Just a nice sound, a nice feel. The look is professional finish. I like the adjustability, yet it's not too complex. I've not changed the Sure Fit weight, which could again be another option for more adjustability options. That measured is a bit more towards the toe, but I didn't see any punishment on the shot. I lost like 3 yards, if that. Let's go one more with the H1, and I'm going to shift into the H2, see if we see any difference. That was a bottomed hit, but one that's actually going to come out like a bullet. I might take that one out of the averages for the height, because that was very much off the bottom, but you can see there, strike location, finishing still front of the green when I didn't hit that particularly well at all. You'll see on the graphic in a moment how much lower that was on the face. Yeah, much lower strike location there, but still did well. The shot still actually did okay, considering I didn't particularly hit that well. Let me shift over to the H2 now, and then we'll check the figures towards the end of the video, but let's see what this H2 has to offer. So we definitely see a ridiculously different shape now. I don't think there's any hiding the two hybrids. There's no confusion between the H1 and the H2 this time round, where definitely the H16, it was hard unless you actually really looked at the bottom or you studied it very carefully. It was hard. There wasn't a big enough separation between the two. The H1 and the H2 this time, big separation. So the H2, way smaller compression head, almost more squashed in. Very much what I would see as a bit more of a professional looking hybrid for the better player. I feel like this hybrid would suit a player that possibly even might like hitting a long iron a bit more than the hybrid. Let's give this a hit. It still has the same features. I've still got this in B1, 19 degrees, Sure Fit CG in neutral. Straight away, visually, for my eye, that is such a nicer looking hybrid. It just looks a little bit more condensed. It looks a little bit more squashed in. It gives me the impression I'm not going to hit it as high. Let's see if actually that's the case. It just kind of looks like it's going to come out more forward rather than height-wise. Oh, and that's gone left on me. It's everything I didn't want a hybrid to do. Ah, that's frustrating. The one thing with hybrids, because of the way that the club's designed, there's always a tendency of going a little bit left with them. But I thought with this being a bit flatter, that would have fixed that. It might have just been a bad shot, so let me move on to another one, see if that's actually any difference. Yeah, it was only a little bit toey and it definitely went way more left. I've missed target by a mile there. I didn't read how many yards left, but a long way left. I had to work harder to fade that. It seemed to come quite easy with the H1, but for this, with the H2, I felt like I had to work a little bit harder to move that ball away from going left potentially. It was still a nice hit. Possibly not as nice a feel as I was getting off the H1 there, actually strike-wise. This H2 just seemed a little bit harder to hit, even though I actually prefer the look of it. Strike location a little bit off the bottom. Let's try and find a couple of good ones. Oh, I'm struggling. Struggling to strike it quite as good. And whether that's just because of the size of the head is throwing me off a little bit, but I'm really struggling to strike that as well as I did the H1. It still finished okay if I was to take a positive from it, but it was a very bad hit. 227 carry distance for 242. Yeah, strike location, you can see there from the H2 seems to be bouncing around the face a little bit more. I've got one more. I feel like there is a middle strike in there somewhere. The H2, the H1's just fallen down trying to put the H2 off. Let's go one more. Oh, I'm really struggling to find the middle of that club. How fascinating. That is very, very interesting. I've hit 4 shots there that have all been very different. Okay, so let's have a look at the numbers between the two. Very different results from the two hybrids there. As much as I 100% preferred the look of the H2, the H1 completely outperformed it. Completely. I found it harder to hit the H2, whether it was just the size of the head or whatever happened, but after hitting the H1 so good, the H2 just didn't seem to quite cut it. If I show you the numbers there, I'm actually going to just leave all 4 shots from each up on screen for you to have a look at. I think the interesting numbers to look at straight away is the carry distance for the H1, which is the bigger one, is 228 for a 245 total. The H2 was 225 for a 245 total. So as badly as I hit the H2, numbers-wise, distance was okay. The big thing for me was offline. The H2 was way further offline. The best one was only 9 yards, and the worst one being 38 yards, where the worst one of the H1 was 17 yards, and the best one was like 5 yards. So much more online to target. And everything with the H1 for me moved to the right. Everything with the H2 had a little bit more left tendency. Very interesting to see. The other number I think is worth pointing out is the peak height. So barring that last shot from the H1, which let me just disable for a moment in time because I feel that that's a true reflection of the first 3. The peak height for the H1 was 34 yards up in the air, which is pretty high for a 19-degree golf club. Now, the shots from the H2, none of them, even the good one that I hit, none of them got over 30 yards up in the air. So a definite lower, more penetrating ball flight, but for me, just way harder to hit. Other numbers on screen there, probably not much more to dive into. Ball speed was pretty similar across the board. Backspin, again, that's going to vary slightly on strike location. I'm just finding that you've got 2 very different looking golf clubs this time round. For straight away, I would pick up the H1 and go, yeah, that's the one. H2 and go, that's the one for me. That looks the best. But actually, I found that harder to hit. I found that a little bit more testing to hit. When hit okay, it produces a lower ball flight and good distance. It's just not highly forgiving. And for me, just because of the way it's designed, maybe being a bit more toe heavy, it seemed to just be moving around to that left a fraction too much as well. And I've got it in a flatter angle, which is a shame. I thought I would have fixed that perfectly. When I look into H2, as much as H1, which is the bigger head, as much as I don't actually like the look of it behind the ball compared to the H2, I find it a little bit bigger. Performance, I can't fault. It was good ball flight. It was consistent. I didn't feel like I had to work that hard to hit it. I actually preferred the performance of the H1 hands down. Very interesting there. And again, it goes to show that sometimes actually just hitting both of the golf clubs where I should fit into the H2 category. If I had the option to get one in my bag straight away, I'd have to put H1 in my bag. That performed much better for me. H2, I think, has got its advantages, but I just couldn't hit it as consistently. So guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, click that thumbs up button. It's just showing and reviewing the difference between the H1 and the H2 for 818 this time round from Titleist. And it's always worth considering which one is supposed to fit you and which one actually does work. That's the more important factor on this. You're looking for the golf club that works, not the one that's supposed to fit you ideally. So do test different ones. I love the options that you can customize this golf club as much as possible with the lofts and the weight systems as well. Guys, thanks for watching. Loads more videos to come. If you've not seen the 718 iron ranges, click the link up here in the corner. You can watch all the reviews there. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you soon. H1 versus H2. For me, H1 won hands down. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.